Welcome, ZB Ho World. My name is Spicer McLeroy, and welcome to ZBrush Hangouts Meshed Up Live. For tonight's artist panel, we have Ad Lazy, Christopher
ZB
Jones,
World. My
Yo,
name
yo.
Jen 506,
Oh,
Leo David Art,
hello.
Lonnie Sargent,
What's up?
Nicolas Callo,
How's it going?
Raf Pazente,
What up?
Hey Alan,
Howdy.
and the amazing, gracious, and he seems to have a really good sense of humor, Erick Sosa. Thank you for being on the show, man. Thank you. So everybody knows the rules of the show. We have 1 hour and 30 minutes to sculpt on a theme.
Oh, nice.
Please feel free to start from a primitive and a blank canvas. And tonight's theme is Hellboy and the BPRD. Feel free to sculpt Hellboy.
Nice.
Any of those characters, any of those monsters. And of course, Eric, you're our special guest, so you can just do whatever the hell you want to do.
Hellboy. What?
What's a primitive? But yeah, tell and everything. I got a really good opportunity with them. They wanted me to, stay with them. I was in high school. I was in my senior year, and my teacher, my ceramics teacher, actually got me into Mattel. She had a bunch of connections, and that lady's always helping people. So she got me in there. She said, like, you could do this for a living and make some money. Because she saw me during the ceramics class. I was always sculpting, like, characters from, like, Street Fighter, Marvel, DC Comics.
Right.
So she's like, you could earn a living doing this. I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. And yeah, 6 months later, we got a call from Mattel. And she called me into the the little studio, and she goes, like, it's Mattel. They want to meet with us tomorrow. And that's it.
Wow.
Ever since, I've been doing this.
That's
so
awesome.
I've worked for different toy companies. Back in 2001, I decided that I didn't want to be a full-time employee anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that I just wanted to work from home and explore that. And yeah, ever since, I've been doing freelance since 2001, 2002 or so. But I just quit doing freelance this summer, and I started a couple of companies, one out of Paris and another one here in the States, and we're doing collectibles. So that's what I've been doing for the past, maybe 15 years. I've been doing collectibles, like statues and anything video game related or comic book related or film related, action figures, all that stuff. So I've been working for different companies like Sideshow and, DC Collectibles and Bowen Designs and Hasbro, Mattel as well,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I've been doing a lot of that stuff. And now the only client that I kept, they really wanted me to stay, which is really odd, and I'm grateful for that. It's Kotobukiya. They
oh, nice. Yeah, they do great work.
I mainly do like their fine arts line, which is like made out of polystone resin,
Oh, wow. Nice.
So yeah, most of the stuff they do is like PVC, which it is my understanding that makes them, a really good amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
But the polystone line, does really well, but obviously you can't compare it to like making 30K, 60K units per character. So, but the numbers are still good. We usually sell around the neighborhood of like 5,000 units or so, which
Oh,
is
nice.
for polystone is pretty high, so it's good. So so yeah, I still do that stuff for them. So yeah, and right now I'm just we got a Marvel license with our partner out of France, and we're about to launch it, I think, by November, maybe October, maybe. We're just waiting for Marvel to approve the packaging and everything, and everything's already been produced in China. I just got back from China just like a week ago or so, and yeah, so I figured that that it was time for me to start doing what I wanted, and just basically be able to earn a living by being the producer and not the just the hired gun.
Oh,
So,
right. Absolutely. Yeah, you made a post today that if your job or your ultimate goal is to get a job in a studio that your dream is too small.
Dreams are too small.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true because I keep getting asked that question. It's like, oh, what do you think if I, do you think I can get into this company and everything? And that's great. That's good because I'm not trying to shoot anybody down.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that there's more to what you can see right now. Like right now at this point in your career, you might think like, oh, if I work at Blizzard or this or that company,
there's more than Blizzard. No.
Yeah, Riot Games, Disney, whatever, that's cool. Disney. But eventually you're gonna realize that maybe doing your own thing is the best thing. The best way.
Yeah. I tell my students I'm like, you don't have to get a job in a studio. Like, there's plenty of talented students here that you're friends with that you can make a studio of your own very easily and very quickly.
And do you just hear like the Windows crash sound every time you say that?
Like the wind blowing.
Yeah, but yeah, I try to guide, at least let them know that there's another option besides just going straight to a studio. But not to put down that option at all, because there's plenty to learn while you're in a studio.
I don't think you should do that, because then people are gonna think for themselves, and you don't want that.
So did you have artistic family members? It seems like you had like a really early break into creating art.
I've always wondered that, but no, I don't know anybody in my family or extended family that are artists at all. Now I have 4 little kids. I have 4 little girls, ages. Yeah.
So Prototype Z, is that so that's all you decide what's going on, or is that like where you just do your freelance from?
No, that's actually my company, and basically what it is, it's like it's just me. So I hired a couple of friends that helped me out, and Rui Moran, who's like out of Philippines, and he's an amazing modeler. And also Fran Picasso, who you might know him. He's the guy that sells the Calipers Master plugin. I think for yeah. So yeah, he's the one that helps me like a lot, along with Rui. Like because there's something you got to know. I can only do organic stuff in ZBrush. I can't, and my approach is really, really traditional. I don't know all these like shortcuts, or I don't even know what a UV is. I've heard of it. Whatever. I don't know. And so what I do is that I just basically do the overall design, art direction, and everything. And whenever, like, let's say this orc that I'm sculpting right here, this is something I just started doing this morning just for fun. So if I needed armor or something, I know how to do it by hand. I just don't know how to do it in the software at all.
Oh, okay, got it.
So then what I do is that I just do a sketch or an overlay, and then I just shoot it to one of my guys, and I tell them like, make it like this, and that's it. And then they get it done. So that's how I do it. But which is kind of, I have to be honest though, when I was doing traditional stuff, I used to have like 5 guys here working with me. And I would just have them do like like the boots and the weapons or whatever, which is usually stuff that I don't like doing, to be honest. So I would just be doing like the posing and the anatomy, and I love sculpting portraits, so the hands, whatever, and then they would just dress them up, and that's it. So it's basically the same thing that I'm doing.
Oh, nice.
So that's why I haven't really taken the time to learn how to
and they're not pushing you to do it either, right?
Maya or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
No, don't worry about it. We got it.
No, whatever, man. I just want to do organic stuff. That's it.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I call that pimping. That's what I call that. just rolling.
Yeah. I'm just a pimp that pays well. That's all I do. Yeah, I take care of my guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, you have to, man, because I've been there, obviously, and I don't tell them, I don't dictate how much they want to make. I just ask them like, what do you think is fair for your time? And they're the ones that dictate it, and that's it. And for the most part, I mean, I guess 100% of the time, I've never had an issue because they're just happy with what they're doing, So that's good. It makes me feel happy for that. So,
That's awesome. So, So do you decide what's going to be next? Like what's the process from concept to me buying it? Well, can you go over like the overall
basically
process?
what we do is like the way we used to do it is like we used to do like 2D art, present it to the licensor, and like for example, if we did a Ryu sculpt or something, we want to do a Ryu statue, we would have to show like a 2D concept. But now, because of digital and everything and how cool it is, all I do is just sculpt it the way I like it, post it, whatever, and then paint it with poly paint, whatever, and then maybe like send it to Keyshot or whatever. I mean, not necessarily, but then I just submit that, and usually they're cool with that, and they might have a couple of suggestions or whatever. So we change that, we adjust it, and then we print it out. With a guy named Jason Wires out of Georgia. He does a lot of the prototyping for most of the collectibles companies, and he does painting as well, and molding and casting and photography.
Oh, nice.
So he's a one-man shop that well, not a one-man shop, but it's basically your place to go to when it comes to like prototyping and everything, and he does like everything. So it's a really cool thing to know that you finish your 3D model, you send it for approvals, gets approved, then you just we take pictures of the actual product, and then we make sure that the factory gets as close as possible to the prototype, which is really tough, to be honest. But you can do it. It's possible. The only thing is that it requires more money. So instead of me paying, like a certain amount for a product, I'm paying like maybe twice as much. But the quality is there. I mean, so it's not a 10 like our prototype, but it's maybe like an 8.5, 9, which is really close. So yeah, so far people like this stuff. So yeah.
And so, are you like how far would you say you're exaggerating things for print in terms of like the creasing and the skin folds and all that?
Like right here, I don't know if you can look at my screen, but basically I tend to go in really deep, because like this is basically based on like many years of experience working in wax and clay. So I already kind of know how deep things need to be in order for them to show up in the real world, because I see a lot of sculpts that are amazing in 3D. But I've also seen the actual printouts, and then things wash off. Like, the 3D printer doesn't necessarily match what you see on screen 100%. It's probably like, it loses, like maybe like in my experience, like, even if it's like, like a Form 2, which is amazing at 25 microns, it loses a little bit of details, like just subtle, right? So you need to just go in there and make things a lot deeper, so that when you get the 3D print, everything's there. So, and everything's like looks natural. It doesn't look like too deep, but also doesn't look washed out. So you have to find that balance. But and also the material you use has a lot to do with it, because I could be using a material that makes my stuff look I don't know, really good, but in reality, it's that's not the way it is. So when you actually print it, you go like, oh, what happened to the creases? They're all gone. He looks super young, and he's supposed to look like all pores and old and wrinkled, and it's not there. So yeah,
cavity on the
I just
materials,
whenever you get go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, your cavity slider is a little bit too far to the right on the material. What materials do you use like on the regular for consistent?
Well, I use basically let me see which one's the one that I use the most. Honestly, the best material that I've used is Blinn. Blinn is actually pretty good, and you can just see all the details. It's perfect. I've never had an issue with using that material, which is the one I use the most. And yeah, if you look at it, you can see that things are like, I mean, right now, like if I use this other material, things look more natural. But if I actually use Blinn, things look a little bit more, deep and everything. And that's great, because when you actually print this out, everything's going to show up. It's just going to be there. So it might be a little bit more subtle, which is great because it's kind of like smoothing things out a little bit, like maybe by 10%.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all there and it looks natural. And then once you apply paint, you're going to lose a little bit of that depth because, you know, paint has a thickness, obviously.
Oh, right,
so
right.
Depending on how much paint it's applied, or, you know, if you do like 1, 2, 3, 4 coats, then you're going to start losing a lot of detail.
Mm.
So in order for us to avoid that, what we do is that we don't paint. Like usually when companies paint something, what they do is that they get like a white casting or a gray casting, whatever, and then they actually start painting on top of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then that covers like, you know, the first pass or the second pass will start covering a lot of the detail. So one thing that we realized, and just kind of like, you know, following what Hot Toys, companies like Hot Toys, I don't know if you're familiar with them, what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So basically the base color of the resin is the actual color that we want the piece to be. So this character is supposed to be like, you know, like a, I don't know, like a light blue. That's the color of the base color of the resin.
Right.
And then all we do is like just really subtle washes. So that keeps the integrity of the sculpt untouched, basically. And that's what we do.
Right.
And it actually creates a really cool effect. So when you actually see it, it looks more like the skin looks realistic, or like you know, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
As opposed to like painting everything one coat of the color that you want, then you're losing detail, and then on top of that you do like some washes, whatever. I mean, it's gonna look good, but it's gonna lose detail. So we're careful not to do that. So we don't follow the same system that most companies actually follow. So we think the way Hot Toys does. So I used that art. That's what I did, which was, I think, done by this guy called Akiman or something like that. This Japanese artist.
Yeah, Akiman.
Yeah, and
he's the one that did a bunch of the first Street Fighter, like Turbo, and some, I think another fighting game too.
Yeah. And then there's also Bengus or something like that, and they're both amazing. So that's what I did. Mm-hmm. I mixed it a little bit with my style. And then like the Street Fighter, the movie, the anime. And that's what I did. That's how I came up with this style. And that's it. So far, it's doing great. And right now, the next character after Akuma will be Chun-Li, I think.
Oh, nice.
And then eventually we'll do like, you know, second tier characters like, you know, I don't know, like Fei Long, or I don't know, like maybe like
Blanca.
Yeah, Blanca is not really popular, you know. He doesn't sell that well for company.
Yeah, I think I know why, but I don't know why.
It's my country, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're gonna do all those characters. We're doing all 17 characters.
Oh wow!
From the Street Fighter Turbo, 2 Turbo. But yeah, the truth is that we know we're not gonna make as much with some characters, and that's fine. I really don't care, to be honest. I just want to have my copies, you know, and want to get them, and that's it, you know. To be honest, the reality is that with the popular characters, we're gonna do okay. So it doesn't really matter to us. Like if we only sell like say 100 units of Fei Long, that's fine. It doesn't matter, right? So long as the factory is able or willing to do it for, you know, like such a small run, we're okay with that too. So it's fine. Yeah. So basically, the whole idea is to give people what they want, and then once they're hooked, that's when we start doing crazy stuff. And then
Right.
Them.
So do you have any original characters coming out?
Once they see what we can do, then maybe they will. The whole idea, to be honest, is to start like a fantasy line of like either action figures.
Like a gateway. It's like a gateway toy, right?
What was that?
Like a gateway toy.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the whole idea. Right? Oh, that's not working.
So what was the first figure that you you got in your hand that you made that you were like, you know, I'm not so bad at this. You know? I'm like, I might have a future in this type of thing.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It was probably RoboCop. I just got this G.I. Joe body that had a bunch of joints and everything, and he was like, I don't know, like 12 inches tall. Remove the head, remove the hands, kept the feet because they were really flat and tiny.
Right.
And then just built on top of that with oil-based clay that came in different colors, and then varnished everything after I polished it and everything. And it looked like a really cool action figure, and it worked as an action figure. And all the kids and my cousins or whatever, they would go like, "Oh, can you make me one? Can you make me one?" I'm like, "No, man.
No, man.
I
This is mine.
keep doing this, man.
No, man.
I can't do that.
I
I
like
can
that.
teach you how to do it." But yeah, they would just go, no, I don't want to do it. I'm like, all right, whatever. So, like while most kids were like, out there playing, I don't know, like whatever, football, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was just at home, like drawing and sculpting every day. My dad would just sometimes go like, you need to go out.
Right.
But I just kept doing it. I enjoyed it like a lot. So, even to this day, my wife goes like, you need to go out to the movies with humans. Friends. Like, yeah, I know. I don't know anybody. No, I do go to the movies a lot. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's cool. So, did you see it?
Yeah, I think it was awesome. I don't know what you guys think of it, but I thought it was like, I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
Maybe even a 10 out of 10. I really love it. I think it's one of the best portrayals of a crazy, wild, horrific looking character ever since, like, I don't know, Freddy or something. I don't know. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty
another
cool.
classic monster coming up.
Yeah. It feels like an 80s movie. Like, once you start watching it, well, that's what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like I'm back in the 80s, which is awesome. It just, the kids are great actors, and, it's pretty cool. It's awesome, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Chris?
I just hate clowns so much.
Yeah, this is a movie for you then.
Oh fuck no!
I'll bring it over your theater, or maybe amplify it, but you won't know until you try.
No. I stand my ground.
Will it make you feel better if I told you that Pennywise isn't really a clown? Like, it takes the form of like the shark from Jaws at some point.
Yeah, in
Like,
the book, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then it
Yeah.
turns into a mummy.
I mean, it's all, like, I got most of it from, like Wikipedia and shit. It's really interesting.
Oh hell yeah, man.
I fucking love Stephen King.
It's just like the
So we
1980s,
have
I
a
think, though.
we have a question from the audience from
Awesome.
Dion Bermeo. He's asking, what are the most lacking skills and shortages today in the industry? Going to you, Eric. Love.
Depends which industry, though.
Mm-hmm.
All of them.
Let's stay in your lane. What about your industry? What do you say?
I think in our industry, like, one of the things that is actually lacking, if I understood the question correctly, that we need more of is like, I know this is gonna sound dumb. We need artists that know how to charge, man. That's what we need.
Seriously.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, because we have the talent. There's really no shortage of talent or specific skills. That's the reality. So my answer would be that if there was something that I think most artists lack and they need to have a better sense of, is a sense of business.
Yes.
Like a business sense.
Yeah.
They need to understand that communication is key.
Mm-hmm.
They need to understand that what they're performing in terms of a service for a client is not their own baby or their own product or their own character
Right.
or their own pet project. So they need to do whatever it is that the project requires. But it's by the same token, I think we need to understand how much to value our work collectively, because obviously, basically, the collective masses of artists basically drive, in a way, whether we are aware or not, they drive the rates,
the market,
the rates in the industry. So if more people realize that, their work is worth, like if I'm sculpting this orc and it's an action figure and everything, and, let's say I want to make $30 an hour or 50 or whatever, then if this takes me, I don't know, like, 80 hours, I should be able to get something along the lines of that But because most artists just go like, oh, I just want this produced. I can't tell you how many people we get sometimes telling us like, oh, can you do this? And they show me like something really cool, like I don't know, like a creature or something. I'll just give it to you if you just like give me credit. And I always tell them like, listen, man, your stuff is amazing, and you shouldn't really shortchange yourself by doing this. You need to get paid for this stuff. This stuff is like on another level, and
So how would someone that's just starting, what advice would you give them to price?
I would probably, one thing that I do, and obviously there's no like magic, trick or something, but one thing that I learned early on was, instead of like, whenever they would ask me like, oh, so okay, how much for this like orc looking action figure? Okay, so how much would you charge? And then what I do is that at that moment, they're actually like basically tossing the ball on your court. And what you need to do is like, you basically need to return it and go,
$1 million.
Well, how much is fair? Right. So you need to ask like, what's the average you pay, or how much are other artists charging you for a similar project? So that's when they go. Most clients, in my experience, like they'll go, well, usually, for we did this other character that's pretty similar. Look, here's some pictures. We paid for that. I don't know, like $6K. And then you have to know from the very beginning, like how much you feel is fair for your time. So if you've been doing this for a little while, even though you're new, you kind of have to know how long it'll take you, because that's another issue. Like if you tell a client like, yeah, this will be done in 2 weeks, and obviously you're not that fast, or or whatever, that's going to create an issue, right? You're going to be late and they're never going to call you again. Right. So you need to know how long it's going to take you in terms of man hours, and you need to know what you're comfortable with making, whether it is like, okay, I want to make $20 an hour because I'm a new guy, but I also would like to make maybe like 35. So within that range, you move within that range, and you have to set up the rules. Like, okay, so I'm going to do this orc with so many joints with a big old axe, and the time frame or the deadline is like in 2 weeks, whatever. You place a date, and then and as soon as the project starts, I get I mean, this is really simple, and I know a lot of us know this already, but there's a lot of new guys that don't know this. Like, you never start a project unless you get a deposit. That's how. Right. That's at least how I've done it for, I don't know, like almost 17 years, and it's worked for me fine. So that's what I would do. Just like just state that you need a deposit, 50% usually. That's what I ask for, or you can break it down into like 30, 30, 30. So I usually just work with the 50-50. That's it. 50 before we start, and then once I send, and this is really tricky. Once I send final images and it gets approved, the images get approved, then I get my other 50, then you get your file. But it's not like once it gets approved, I'll send you the file, and then I'll look for you for like 3 years or my whole life until you pay.
So how do you handle that? How do you handle that conversation? Because I've never had
you just tell them. You just tell them. You're just honest. You tell them like once the file, you set the rules, and you tell them like, is that okay? Are you okay with that? Because obviously, when you're beginning, you just want to prove yourself and everything. And I understand that it's tough to actually stand your ground. But the more honest you are with yourself and with the person, or the client, the happier you will be, the more you will enjoy what you're doing. And you won't feel resentful because you worked on this thing for like 3 months, and then you basically sent the file, you never got paid, you never drafted a contract, they never sent you a contract. And that's it. They disappear, and that's it. And they take your product, And then you go on Facebook and go like, these guys stole my file. So that's not going to help anybody. So that's the thing, Right. So I strongly suggest, like, that if you're an artist and you want to do this for a living, it is essential that you get like some kind of basic training in terms of like handling a small business, because that's going to help you. It's gonna make the difference between staying alive for many years, or just like, you know, giving up and, you know, maybe going back to a studio, or maybe that's not what you want to do. So, you know, that's probably not going to be cool for you. But that's what I've done for all, you know, throughout all these years, and it works. I'm not saying that every client is super easy to deal with, but for the most part, I would say like 90% of the time, I don't get shafted. You know, I would probably say 95, but you know, it still happens. It's happened to me where I draft the contract, everything. I follow my own rules, and still the client just disappears. So, but they disappear without my file. You know, they don't keep. I don't give them the file until.
And you already got 50%. So.
Yeah, and I got 50%, and I'm like, okay, they paid me to practice on this work, so cool, and that's it. I move on.
Something. That's good.
You know, so, but yeah. That's usually how I do it, and I can't really say like, oh, there's a lack of this or there's a lack of that. When it comes to collectibles, it's just like, you know, if you're able to mimic what you see in 2D. That's it. That's all you need. You know, if the character requires like, I don't know, like joints or a lot of like precision, you know, parts like, I don't know, like weapons or things like that, or movable, you know, like, you know, elements or whatever, and you can do that, then that's fine. It's fine. You can do that. Great. You know, if you can't, like my case, you know, in my case, I can't do like, you know, mechanical objects or hard surface pieces.
Right.
Then I just hire someone else. I share the bounty, you know? So like if I'm charging like, you know, I don't know, $7,000 for a project, right? After taxes, I'm probably going to be left with, I don't know, like, you know, $5,000 or $4,500, whatever. I asked someone like, hey, you know, dude, you know, you want to do this, like, you know, weapon for this, like, I don't know, like, I don't know, I'm looking at this work and I'm thinking of like Hellboy. All right, you know, I'm doing this. How much would you charge? Oh, well, you know, that's going to take me like, you know, 4 days. So I was like $100 a day. Okay, fine. Or 150 or 200 or whatever, depending, you know?
Right.
And that's it. They set that up, and then I look into my budget and I go like, yeah, I can do without, you know, like, you know, $1,000 or something. That's fine. And then especially if you're doing like a set of action figures, then it just makes perfect sense.
Right.
You know, at the same time you're delegating. I think that's one thing that when you're a freelancer, it is really important for you not to go insane by trying to do everything on your own. Share with people. You create a really cool relationship. You know, you have a friend you can talk to, and you know, you can just like talk about anything, or while you both working, or you know, you're hanging out on the hangouts, you know, and just listening to music, talking about films, whatever, you know. So it's a really cool way to work, like you know, like teamwork. But at the same time, you know, you have someone that you know that has your back. You established a good relationship with the person, and they like you, they trust you because they know that you're honest. And you know, you're not probably gonna tell them like, hey, dude, you know, we're getting $10,000 on this project, and I'm giving you $8,000. You know, obviously that's not gonna happen.
Right.
But you should pay that. I took part in it, you know. But yeah, those guys deserve all the props. They just made it look amazing. So yeah, being able to work in different areas because of 3D it's just a plus. So I would say that a place that, you know, requires usually that, you know, they're always requiring like, you know, sculptors is like a place like Sideshow Collectibles. They're always looking for artists that excel at their craft, that have a passion for you know, creature design or superheroes and film and stuff like that. So if that's the kind of stuff that you like and you get really good at it, you can always go. One thing I used to do until like just like a few years back, I used to go to Comic-Con. That's the best place where you can find gigs, and you know, or different shows. There's different shows, like, you know, there's another place called in Pasadena, I think it's called, never been, but I've heard about it. I have a friend, his name is Steve Wang. Yeah. You know, he's well, you guys know who he is, obviously. So yeah, Steve is super cool, and he's super chill. He's a good friend. And so he actually goes to this thing called Designer Con, and it's really weird because like Steve does what he does just because he truly loves it. He's not in it for the money. He just wants to sculpt. That's all he cares for. And he goes to Designer Con even though he does not need it for any financial reasons. Right. He just does it. He just wants to sell like whatever, you know, whatever stuff comes to mind, and he sculpts it and he makes castings, and paints them and then sells them. So he goes there and he told me that that's a good place for you, like show your work, take your portfolio, maybe talk to different people. And Comic-Con is the same way. It's one thing that I have to be honest though, in terms of collectibles, it's the industry is like really super saturated right now in terms of both artists and there's not a lot of companies out there,
right?
And a lot of the companies are basically doing the same thing. So like, let's say if a company has like a license for Marvel, like everybody wants to have it as well. And they really, most companies don't come up with really original ideas. They keep copying like things that were released like a few years back and whatever. But if you're an artist that can create something really cool and like a really amazing Wolverine, and you can think of outside the box and make him, sculpt him in a scene where he looks like super, super awesome, then for sure, I'm pretty sure there's going to be companies out there that are going to take notice. But obviously you need to make a lot of sound. You need to be the squeaky wheel. And even if they tell you, no, we don't need your portfolio is good, but we don't need someone like you right now. Thank you. Try later. Keep going. Eventually, maybe that person will leave. Maybe that person doesn't have a vision. Maybe they can't tell that you're good for the company.
Right.
But eventually, someone else will come in, or something will happen where they'll go, you know what, kid, you really got really good, and I love this, and we're gonna give you a shot. That's it. You're in. So so long as you don't mess your deadlines and you communicate and you try to be cool to them and everything and do whatever it is that's required to make a cool project, there's no reason why you can't stay afloat for many years in terms of like either freelance or just get a gig at a studio or something. There's other companies like Mattel Toys, there's Hasbro. You don't need to work there full time, but you can meet them at Comic-Con. And then most of the times, some of the sculpting team managers are actually there. So you can actually, meet with them, show them your portfolio, and that's it. I can't tell you how many times I got gigs by going to Comic-Con, like constantly. But then it got to a point where I didn't even need to carry like business cards. I was lucky enough that people go like, oh, I recommend you, Eric, to work with Eric because he does really cool I don't know, like superheroes, whatever. And then I would be getting calls from other companies saying like, oh, this person over at this place told us that you do this stuff and we really like your portfolio. We saw it online, and we want to know if you're available, and that's it. And that's how you start building your pool of clients. A lot of people think that I'm mainly like a collectible sculptor, and it's actually the other way around. I actually do a lot more action figures and toys than anything else.
Mel's on the artist panel. We are going to get to you in just a second, but you do have 37 minutes left.
Nice. Okay.
I'm about to say 37 seconds.
Okay.
And crash. Great.
Okay. There you go. All right. So, for example, like when you guys are doing like I guess things for video games and stuff, like you guys do like the UV map and all that stuff, which I'm not really familiar with, and you make it look amazing, right? But when you're doing something that needs to be printed, things need to show. And one of the major issues with something that's going to be made for like a collectible statue or something, pores don't show up as well if once printed. I mean, they could look cool if you make them in scale.
Right.
I'm gonna make the intensity less than that. They will look cool on screen, but if you basically shrink your character to the actual size and you can't see those textures, that's the key. Then you need to go in deeper. Otherwise, if you can't see all the details at the actual scale on your monitor, and you can measure it. Sometimes I just grab a ruler and place it on, on the surface of my monitor. And if I can't see something like a crease or something just doesn't show up, then that obviously means that I have to go in and go in deeper. Otherwise, it's not going to show on the what's it called, the 3D print. So the way we do things is that it might look weird. It might look like the guy has like some kind of like skin disease or something.
Right.
But I promise you, once you do it, the machine finds a way to smooth things out, and it actually looks super awesome. And then once it's painted, it looks pretty cool. But you probably wouldn't do this type of stuff, you know. And I'm just messing with this really quick, but you probably wouldn't do this on something for like a video game or something. Obviously, you wouldn't. But for 3D printing, it has to look like this. You have to like, it has to be really obvious. And then if I scale this down and I can see the texture, then it's gonna show up for sure.
So do you spend most of your
barely see
time
it,
like sculpting and like, I mean, obviously you're going back and forth, but do you spend most of your time sculpting in the view that's actually going to be in the end, or?
Yeah. Yeah. I just keep going back and forth, and then once I another thing that I do, I could be wrong with this guy Andrew. You guys know him, Andrew Kars. Right?
I've never heard that.
Yeah, he's an anatomy teacher. He's amazing. And he's the person that created this company called Anatomy Tools. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
Oh, yes. I have their book.
Yeah. So he did all those like third scale écorchés, which are huge. And then I have like a bunch of his stuff here. The skulls, then the smaller écorchés that are like, I don't know, like 8 inches tall, whatever, or 9. Pretty cool stuff, right? So I took his class over at Noman. I think it was through Pixelogic or something. This was like last summer, maybe something. I can't remember. So I took his class, and that guy knows what he's talking about. I have another friend, Ray Bustos, who actually teaches the guys over at Pixar. You probably know him as well. That guy's he's just on another level, because Andrew's like just like the pinnacle of like perfection when it comes to anatomy. He knows everything, man. But with all due respect, Ray Bustos, he can just like draw things. Like he can draw like the whole skeleton of a dinosaur or a human or anything, and he just knows it by heart because he does it like he teaches like 7 days a week, right?
Oh yeah, it's just repetition.
Yeah. It's just repetition, obviously. So he knows all that by heart, and Andrew as well. So I can't remember what the point was, but anyway, those guys are
yeah, one of my I had a friend that took his class, and she said that he would to help people remember the shape of muscles, he would use food.
Yeah, that's what he does. Yeah, I was
directing, gameplay directing. You can find me at ArtStation by the name of Adrian M, where we're gonna be about to launch a game in like 1 or 2 months, something like that. It's gonna be called Pumpkin Hack. It's gonna be really fun. So make sure to follow me at my Twitter, which is LazyAd with double L. And yeah, I don't know what to tell you. What do you want?
I want bacon, and I want eggs, and I want it in a tortilla with some salsa. All right.
I've been thinking about food this entire sculpt, dude. Don't that.
Well, thanks for being on the show, brother. It's nice to have you back.
Always a pleasure.
Christopher Jones, aka Motherfucker Jones. What's going on?
Hey,
dude?
what's good?
What's going on, dude? Who are you, man? What do you do?
This is Christopher Jones. I'm a 3D artist, available for work. Hint, hint, wink, wink, but nudge, nudge. And, you guys find me on either ArtStation, social media, Facebook. I have a Twitter, but never use it. Might use it again. Don't know. But yeah, ArtStation at Pac-Man King or Christopher Jones. Same thing with the Facebook. So yeah, just a regular 3D character artist or 3D artist, whichever gets me paid first.
Whichever one has an extra 0 on the paycheck.
Pretty much.
That's a good method, man. Well, thanks for being on the show. Good to have you here. And Jen 506 Give him that mic check, brother. Give him that mic check.
I'm Tin506, and you can follow me on Facebook and ArtStation. And yeah, I do like characters, robots, creatures, all that.
Nice.
And thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, man, it's great to have you here, dude. Great to have you here. And Leo, let him know what's up, dude. Let him know what's up.
Who, me?
Yeah.
How's it going? I'm Leo David. I can be found at Patreon under Thunderstorm Art, or on ArtStation under Thunderstorm Art, or on Facebook under Thunderstorm Art, or also everywhere else under Thunderstorm Art.
You're like skipping the freelancer part. You're just send me money on Patreon.
Yeah, just give me money. That's cool. Yeah, but we had some people in the audience asking who's drawing that Hellboy over there. I was like, well, it's either Raph or Leo. So now they know.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm not Hellboy.
And Lonnie, the creaturepreneur, back again.
What's going on?
Let them know who you are, man.
I'm that guy.
There he is, the man.
Well, we'll pass.
I'll ask for it.
Creaturepreneur, self-proclaimed, obviously, blah, 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 yada, yada. You can find me on ArtStation. And you can find me on Facebook. It's LONNIESARGENT.
There you go. If you want some disgusting creatures, Lonnie's your man.
This is my last week with you guys for a while. Got to go back to that work schedule.
When are you going to be back?
I'll be working the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. Just go ahead and quit, dude. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, this is your plan.
This is go to everything. All right, get a prompt. Squeak go.
And Nick of Callow. Let him know who you is.
My name is Nick of Callow, Mother of Dragons, Breaker of Chains. You can find me. You can find me anywhere at LVL Dead, Level Dead. I mainly do 2D concept art illustration.
Well, I have a question for you, Eric.
Okay, cool.
So how do you study? Do you draw? Do you paint? Do you like anything outside of to increase your sculptural knowledge?
I honestly don't do anything other than sculpt all day, man, and emails and conference calls on occasion. Until like just recently, I was working like 18, 20-hour days. Just so I really didn't have a lot of time to like draw or anything. But in my mind, I was like, well, this is kind of like drawing, doing 3D.
Right.
But now that I have more free time, I'm drawing a lot and everything. Just going back to that. But I think the key to it's just a personal thing, right? But I think the key to become a really good 3D modeler or sculptor or whatever, traditional sculptor is like drawing. I don't know. There's a connection there, and I've seen it. I mean, I've just seen it. Like there's this guy. He's a sculptor. He's like super famous. Andy Verholz. He's a great artist, and he started doing 2D like art, and then there's this other guy. I don't know if you guys have seen him on the Food Network, Ray Billifane. He carves like the pumpkins, and they look like super crazy looking. Well, that guy used to be a kindergarten teacher, and a great draftsman. He could draw anything, right? And then the day he actually grabbed clay, he became a sculptor. That's it. He was just amazing. Because he knew exactly what to do, he knew exactly where things went, and that's it. So I strongly believe that whenever people ask me like, how can I get better at sculpting, like just draw, and not just draw out of your imagination, but draw based on going to like live drawing classes at your local community college or whatever. And if you can't do that, then there's also like Pinterest, whatever. And then just try to emulate what you see, just copy from nature, and that's the best teacher right there, I guess.
Right.
And we have a question from the audience. What advantages do older artists have over the youngins that grew up in the age of social media?
Interesting. I personally think that actually they have more of an advantage. They probably don't realize it because I think social media, if you know how to use it, if you learn how to use it really well, is a great tool to just expose your art to like the world, basically.
Yeah, I think younger artists are more willing to do that as well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I assume we're kind of in the same age range, but I had a meeting with a client the other day, and he's like, "Oh, you know, I'm too old to have a Snapchat or whatever." I was like, "Yeah, but your clients aren't. Like, your clients are 14 to 25, or at least that's what you want to grab. So you have to get on there real quick." So I would say that I would agree with you that that's the other way around. That younger artists are more willing, and like could you imagine like your great grandpa, like how angry he would be at you for having the entire world in the palm of your hand on his phone and not making a billionaire out of yourself, you know, like he just beat you up for that, you know, and but
every day of my life.
It's true. We honestly, like my work wasn't really like that well known because I was doing toys, and in toys usually you don't get credit at all, especially for like larger companies, right? So when I started doing stuff back in 2004, like doing like collectible stuff, you know, a few years later I joined Facebook, and that changed everything because now like and I don't say this with any kind of like I'm not trying to I'm not trying to aggrandize. Whatever. I'm not trying to build myself up. Right. And the truth is that when I go to different countries because of social media, man, people know me. That's so weird because I don't even post images of myself. Like not that many anyway. And I was in Japan just like 2 years ago. I went to this place called Wonder Festival. It's a really cool event, and it's basically made up of sculptors, you know, Japanese sculptors, and they sell like garage kits, which they basically. And Twitter is like big, it's huge. But yeah, man, it's fun. Social media is the key to, you know, just like success in a way. If you don't grab onto that tool, it's gonna be harder.
Yeah, I told my students the first day of class. It was like the first or the second thing I told them. I held up my phone. I was like, if you aren't creating content for this device every single day, you do not exist.
Exactly.
And I repeated it 2 more times. Yeah, like some post, something like a funny meme or a funny video. It doesn't have to be your artwork every day.
It doesn't even have to be exactly, and that's what I keep telling people, man. That's awesome that you're saying that because, you know, it could be just a post or you just reposting what someone shared, and it's just like, hey, this is cool, or this is funny, or look, this is great reference. I just did that in the afternoon, and that you're feeding an audience, you know, and you know whenever you show something, you know, if it's good, you know, hopefully they'll like it and they'll be all over it. But if you don't visit Facebook other than like every 3-4 months, then you know people are gonna forget about you completely. That's it. So that's a reality.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you post on Facebook on your own page or on your account? You know,
to be honest, man, I actually use my own profile, and I also have a page for my company. And that's another thing that once you get a page, you can actually promote your posts. And just, you know, we went from, you know, me never using those tools because I didn't know how to use them. And it's really simple. It actually, every time you post, it'll ask you if you want to boost your post. So,
and you can have it at a very, very select audience. So if you got,
exactly.
If you got this latest sculpt,
like your stuff.
Yeah, you got your latest sculpt. You just do people that like Street Fighter. Boop.
Yeah.
And then I want 14 to 40.
That like your page and their friends, and more likely than not, those people will basically like what his friend likes. So that means that means likes for you, and likes actually mean exposure and basically, you know, a way to earn a living. That's what it means. And so we went from having just like, you know, like maybe 2,000 likes for like over a year. And I never really updated the page. And then when we showed the first product, it shot up to, I think, like 23,000 people.
Yeah.
And then I discovered that we could actually boost our post, and then it's gone up to like I think 40K or something like that.
Well done.
So it's good, man. It's actually a great thing. So that's something that your personal page doesn't have, but I think for that, what you have to do is just like keep posting anything, even something silly, a silly picture, whatever. Just keep doing that.
Yeah.
Just keep letting people know, like, hey, I'm here, guys. I'm not gone. I'm still alive. You know.
I've been using also my own page, and I've been boosting some posts that I did with some marketplace stuff for my game assets. But I'm actually curious because I looked at some articles, and they were like, Facebook does like a lot of fake boost numbers.
Yeah.
You got 14 minutes every day.
Like a lot of bots, right? They have a lot of like bots. They're just
that's the reason your content needs to be good, because like those bots are basically there to allow it to go out to a larger pool. So if your content's good, it'll just catch on, right? So I mean, like you may get those bots or everything, but it's too boosted so that it goes further and further out. So in one way, it does help, but in one way, I see how you're saying it's like, well, they're not really fans. I don't want fake fans. I want true engaged customers or fans. But on the flip side, it does boost up the statistics and analytics, because one day Facebook will say comments matter, and then another day it'll say likes matter, and that's because if it's the same thing all the time, people will just hack the system, and you'll just see it at the top all the time. So content is king.
Yep, okay, that's true. Another thing that's really good for getting like a response from your audience and engaging them is asking questions. Like just
absolutely,
just ask questions, and you keep people engage that, and then oh, by the way, I just made this, and just show it. People are already on checking out your page, so why not?
Yeah, that's an interesting point of view.
Yep. So, Eric.
Yeah.
What was the first comic book you ever read?
Good question. Superman, man. I can't remember which issue it was, but I do remember that it had Brainiac in it. Yeah. And then the artist, what was his name? He actually drew based, so I started like shifting, towards Marvel, and then everything got messed up, and then I stopped collecting comics. I go to the comic book shop, and I just don't know what's going on, man. I can't keep up. And I work for those guys, and I just don't know what's going on. Rebirth.
Rebirth, Dark Metal, Metal Days, all this stuff. Yeah. Yeah. But the New 52 run of Batman. Yeah. Have you read that? Yeah. Have you read that yet?
Nope.
Oh.
I just know because I sculpted the characters, but
oh man, greatest run ever.
Are you serious?
Yes.
No, 52. That's not true at all. That's not true at all.
Which one ended up wrong?
The one was Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo together, dude. Ugh, it's just beautiful, man. Page after page.
Oh, Greg Capullo is awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The Court of Owls, is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about Court of Owls right now?
Yeah, Court of Owls.
Yeah, you got me out to that.
Oh yeah.
9 minutes. 9 minutes left, and to all those in the audience, you are deciding who won tonight. I'm going to go through here so you can cast your vote. We got Ad Lazy here. We got Christopher Jones with a slow internet, so I can't see his screen.
What are we talking about?
And then Jin 506. Leo David Art.
Hello.
Lonnie.
Don't.
Nicholas, let him see that face. They have the crotch. Great. All right, there we go.
Face again.
And then we got Raph over here as well. And then we have Tay Allen. So just let us know which one you like the most. Write it in the comments. That's it. But we have, just to give you... That's 8 minutes left. So, Eric, what's your favorite character to sculpt? Like, you're sentenced to Groundhog Day of sculpting, and you have to sculpt the same character every day Until you get your life back on track. Which character is that?
I would have to say Donald Trump.
Woo! The greatest superhero character of all time.
No, I would say, oh man, that's a hard one, man. Great.
There you go.
Interesting. Would I be allowed to do like different versions of him?
Oh yeah, it's the same character.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, then Donald Trump. No, I'm kidding, man. No, it would probably have to be. Honestly, it would probably have to be Superman or the Hulk or Wolverine. Either one.
Nice. All right, and what is the hardest character you've had to sculpt so far?
The Mark I Iron Man movie maquette for Sideshow. Wow. It took like 8 months.
Ugh.
And that was a nightmare, man. It was crazy. And then again, there was the Lancer that we did life size for a company called Triforce or Project Triforce, and that thing was insane, man. We had to work with Epic Games. We got some of the files, but it was like a hybrid sculpt because we 3D printed things, but at the time 3D prints weren't really that good, so we had to like sculpt a bunch of stuff. And then the I guess for some reason the company sent us the files that were like outdated, so they weren't like the final version of the weapon.
Oh god,
dude, you can only imagine. It was crazy. I mean, it was fun though, because Jimmy, I have a picture on my Instagram where Jimmy Fallon is actually playing with one of them. So
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So but yeah, it's yeah, I would just say that doing stuff in 3D. Personally, a lot of people ask me like, so what do you enjoy doing better, 3D or clay? I love sculpting in clay, but if it came to actually earn a living, nothing beats 3D. Nothing.
Oh, yeah. And so, did you have any characters that fooled you? Like you're like, oh, I'm gonna knock this one out of the park, and then like by the time you're done, you'd rather be Theon Greyjoy.
Yeah, no, actually, the characters that I really I don't know, man. There's a few, man. There's a few. Ice or the alternate bust. Or upper body, you can switch it out, and he's all messed up. I don't know if you remember, whenever you would lose, yeah, it comes with this, right here, this base.
Oh, nice.
So if I want to switch bases, I could just do this, like this, and this one's like really messed up. You got
taught a lesson.
He's got a black.
You only had to tell him once, though. That's a good part about it.
Only once.
That's it. Then I have this Disney maquette that a friend of mine gave me, and I just found out you can sell it on eBay for like 20 grand.
What?
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
I was like, all right, retirement, here we come, dude.
Yeah, there we go. Done.
That means you bought it for 20 grand.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you were sculpting him the other night, right?
Yeah. I was using
nice.
Very nice.
That's
done
awesome.
by Kent Melton, I believe. Awesome sculptor.
So can you talk about sculpting anatomy as opposed to sculpting collectibles? Because I used to be a slave to anatomy, and then someone said, I forgot who it was. I think it was on Learn Squared or something. But they're like, if you're just being a slave to anatomy just to show that you can do anatomy, you're completely missing the point of being an artist.
Exactly. That's what I was having a chat with a friend today, because he was telling me, you look at this Hellboy, he was telling me like, oh, see the what's it called, the masseter right here, that doesn't look accurate. It's like, it's too the curve is not natural and everything. And I'm like, dude, you have to learn anatomy, because we both took the class with Andrew, and I told him like, we have to learn anatomy like Andrew taught us, but remember, this is like the Matrix, man. You need to learn to bend the rules and break them sometimes. That's what I tell him. Like, it's like, yeah, but that's not accurate. I'm like, I know, but that's what makes people know, oh, this was sculpted by this dude. You know, they'll know it's it's you because of the way you sculpt the furs of the brow or something. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, but also there's a thing, right? Like if you're gonna be like, that's not really accurate when you showed us in a movie, and you're like, you need to be an anatomy artist to even notice that.
That is true, though.
You're making a product for the majority of people, which is 99% of them don't know anatomy.
Right.
So why the hell, right?
Yeah, because I mean, you can look at like Spawn, right? Like there's so much. He's got like 3 shoulders and shit in some drawings, and it's like, but it looks fucking cool, you know. And that's what matters, you know.
I mean, you look at the work of Mike Mignola or Jim Lee or whatever. Yeah, it's not accurate, man, but it's just super cool the way they do it. You know, that's it.
So how do you balance
you're
that?
You're talking about style over substance here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's like I make tacos, man. I don't make tacos like the taco stand place. I just, I add like some, weird stuff to them, and people like them. That's it.
Always style over substance. And also there's one thing that I see people arguing about like the quality of textures and stuff like that. And it's like, why is with details and whatever? And like, wait a minute, you'll never see this type of detail while you're running away and shooting enemies. So why even bother putting them there?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, the hour and a half is up. So put those pens down and let's see what we got over here. All right, it's the last chance to vote for everyone in the audience. We have Ad Lazy.
Last chance to vote.
Oh man, that's nice.
We got Christopher Jones.
Yo.
We got Gen 506.
Yeah.
Leo David Art. This is awesome concept art. And then we have Lonnie Sargent, Creaturepreneur. Nicholas Ocalo, LVL Dead. Then we got Raph over here.
Hi.
And then the amazing Tay Allen. So put your vote in there so we can see, they do have a chance now that Karen isn't around. To steal it, so.
Thank the guys, dude.
Right.
I wish we guys would vote for me.
But we like to end the show with 3 questions.
Cartoon characters. I guess that kind of helped me in a way. And so I was able to actually, that stuff with the Disney stuff, it was actually produced. So so that was officially, like, I guess my first project that actually got produced, because the Barbie head was just a test.
Oh,
but yeah, man, that was basically like Disney stuff. Yeah.
All right. So second question, and you kind of answered it in the beginning, but who do you thank for breaking you into this business? You said it was your ceramics teacher, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And final question: if you could be any program, brush, or plugin, what would you be, and why?
Any program, I would be the Matrix. Why? Because I would keep people happy, and then the whole thing would like blow up because people can't be happy. They don't. And I would have to create agents to have fun with the humans and mess with them and everything, and then real world like robots and everything. So whomever escaped, I could just like grab them again and reinsert them into the Matrix. That's yep. That's what I would do.
Eric?
Did you know that actually the chosen one, I've come to understand that it was probably not Neo. It was actually Smith. He was chosen to reboot the Matrix.
So he's the hero of the story.
He's the hero of the story. He's the.
Well, it's actually a legit fan theory. Like a lot of people argue that, so you're not alone.
Yeah, I know. No, but I root for Neo, man. Yeah. So whatever.
Yeah, that and the flat Earth. Those 2 things I believe in. Right? So Eric,
the Earth is flat. Everybody knows that. Look, if you just grab a plate, right, and you pour water, right,
it's exactly the same thing, dude. Right? That's the reason there's so much flooding.
Ball, like all the water's gonna drop, right? So if the water's still there, that means that we're flat.
And there you go, science done. You heard it here first.
You just solved science.
Oh, and guess what? Guess what, Lonnie? You are our champion for tonight.
Wow.
All right, way to go.
Bravo.
All right.
I just like telling people that voted for me.